Hi, welcome to a Take 5 Minutes for Health and Safety. My name is Alice Sims, and for today, we are going to be looking at the new British standard, reference BS30480. This new standard is on suicide and the workplace. It looks at intervention, prevention, and support for people who are affected by suicide. The British Standard came into effect on the 30th of November 2025, and it is really the first of its kind dealing with suicide in the workplace. It's not a legal requirement to follow this standard, but it's an excellent toolkit for workplaces to implement. In the standards, there's some excellent guidance and advisory recommendations. To cover it all in 5 minutes, I would not be doing it justice, so I've taken key elements from the standard to show to you. Now, when we think about suicide, there are actually a lot of myths surrounding the subject. And these myths can give us a preconceived idea and can affect how we deal with it. In the standard, they actually take these common myths that people have and debust them. I call them myth busters. The myth that I've pulled from the standard, just to talk about today, suicide behaviour and self-harm is just attention seeking. Myth buster, this myth has no place in the workplace and it's simply not attention seeking. And having this myth, this preconceived idea, it reinforces those unhelpful stigmas. So in the standard, they cover a range of myths and then debust them. It also covers risk factors, warning signs, and coping strategies that us as employers can take. So if we look at risk factors, I've just put a couple on the slide. It could be relationship breakdowns at home, divorce, for example. Bullying in the workplace could be something that would increase the risk. We go over then to warning signs. So these are signs that we might see in our colleagues, employees. Physical panic attacks, weight loss or gain could be worrying, depression, anxiety, mood swings. So we've got risk factors and warning signs. And of course, it's not a tick box thing when we're looking at people. We don't need to tick off so many risk factors, so many warning signs, but this guidance is just opening our eyes really to these could be risk factors and these could be warning signs. It also covers coping strategies. So it's all well and good telling us what the risk factors and warning signs are, but giving us some guidance on coping strategies. Some of the strategies can be helpful. Some of them equally can be very harmful. So within this standard, it does give guidance on both of those. In some industries, there are access that people can have if they are contemplating taking their life that could assist them in doing that. It could be if you're in an industry with some toxic, harmful chemicals. There could be, for example, machinery. So this standard actually covers, reducing access to the means of suicide. Equally important, the standard talks to us about how to intervene. I think sometimes the most trickiest part of it is asking somebody about it. What do you say? What do you not say? Because equally, sometimes stuff that you say may be harmful. So the standard covers scenarios of what to ask and what not to ask. And Equally as important, it talks about confidentiality, which within this issue, we're talking about sensitive matters, but it does cover confidentiality. When do we need to escalate our concerns and worries, and how to go about that? We also have examples of helpful and unhelpful behaviours and communication. For example, helpful, reflecting back on what you've heard as opposed to talking to somebody about your own life experiences. It could run the risk of undermining, their feelings, their experiences. But some fabulous examples of help with behaviours and communications. How to respond to immediate danger. There may be circumstances and situations where we are very concerned for somebody's well-being and safety at that point in time. The standard gives excellent guidance and advice of what to do in those situations. What can organisations do? So this standard covers what organisations can do. So strategy. What is our plan? Okay, what do we want to achieve? What are our long-term goals? We then look at the policy. Okay, so we know what we want to achieve. How are we going to do it? Let's get it embedded into policies and procedures that are already existing in the business. What support frameworks we may need in place? What do we need to implement? Equally as important, monitoring. We need to check that what we are doing and what we are implementing is working and continually learning from it. So, but it's also about celebrating the successes and not just looking at, oh, we've implemented this, it's not going too well. We want to look at it as a whole. Setting aside resources, okay, and that doesn't just have to be money. Okay, resources could be time, people's time. Communication is key, but this standard goes about the best ways to communicate, especially obviously at a management level, but to everybody, to the whole workforce. How do we communicate this? Training is equally important. What training, do we need? And getting that implemented. Promotion of good mental health, providing a safe place of work. When we think about it realistically, we spend a lot of our lives at work. So being in a workplace that is promoting, a good culture, not just in health and safety, but a good culture overall, and promoting good mental health, employees' well-being. Now, the providing a safe place of work, of course, that is a requirement in the Health and Safety at Work Act, but also in general, a safe place of work where people can come. So that was a very quick potted tour of the new British Standard. I hope you've enjoyed finding out a little bit more about this standard. Thanks again. My name is Alice, and I will see you soon.